And Oscar-nominated filmmaker Lucy Walker joins us now live to talk about this documentary.
Lucy, it's quite timely to talk about this. I mean, right now we have fires burning all around us. So what drew you to this subject, and how'd you go about making this film?
Well, that's exactly right. I moved to California and I was shocked. I visited Northern California and the air was filled with smoke. And in Southern California, I looked up and the hillsides were on fire and the freeways were driving through fire and the ashes were falling in my yard. And I thought, my goodness, what's going on? I grew up in London, then moved to New York. And in those places, you think of fire as a problem that's kind of almost medieval and that we've solved and that you can just put out these fires. And so my first thought was like, well, put the fires out. What's stopping us doing that? And I hadn't understood the problem. And the more I sort of got into it, I thought, well, documentaries can help me understand subjects that really I'm curious about, but I want to get the whole picture. I kept thinking, well, all these fantastic filmmakers live in California. Who's going to make this documentary about these wildfires? And finally I thought, well, gosh, maybe I'd better, because I want to watch it. I want to find out what's going on. I had some friends who were firefighters and also residents in these areas that were caught up in these terrible fires. And it was so dramatic what they were going through. And I thought, my gosh, we should follow them and see how they're doing and how it all goes down and try and learn from it. Are we safe? And so that set me off on this journey of learning actually that the fires weren't quite what I thought. And we looked at these two fires in particular that burned at the same time, driven by the same winds, the Camp Fire in Paradise and the Woolsey Fire in Malibu. But they're sort of also emblematic of the bigger story. I really wanted to understand the big picture and get to the bottom of what we're facing again today, right? The news in just as we speak, we're in the middle of these big fires again. And unfortunately, you know, it's a whole big picture that we need to get our arms around, I think.
Yeah, it certainly is. But talk about, as you looked at these two fires, talk about the differences and also the similarities that you cover in the film.
That's exactly right. The fires are quite different in a way because the Camp Fire in Paradise is in the northern part of the state, and the median home price burning there was $200,000. And in Malibu, it's over $2 million. And Southern California, different landscape, different crowd, different political leanings. But of course, all our skin burns just the same. And you know, homes, animals, lives destroyed. I mean, these are things that are universal. And it was interesting to follow the two stories and realize what played out the same and what played out differently in these different communities, and use those kind of two lenses to kind of understand the big picture, to kind of use those two fires as case studies and follow firefighters and residents, not just through the fires, but actually through the 2 years since, to really find out what happened to them and how it all played out and why, unfortunately, these fires are still happening again.
And what were the biggest surprises? What were your biggest takeaways?
Oh my goodness, there were so many surprises. I had, first of all, thought that it was really just climate change that was driving these fires. And climate change is making the fires worse with the extreme events and the hotter temperatures. But it's not just that. There are some other factors that I was really astounded to learn. And the film takes kind of a journey as the things unfold. And actually that's kind of gives me cause for hope, because I think if the fires were just driven by climate change, it would feel more like there's nothing that we can individually do. But actually, I think when you understand the problem, there are things that we can really change, both personally as residents and also as communities, so that we can live in these beautiful places more safely.
I think you hinted at it in the preview a little bit, but interesting to see how the Native Americans controlled the forests around them. And so we look forward to seeing it. Thanks for joining us live. Bring Your Own Brigade debuts in theaters August 6th, and you can stream it on CBSN and Paramount Plus starting August 20th.